Hello, my fellow Alaskans. How are we all doing out there today on this beautiful Monday evening? We are currently here at the MatSu College, and they are about ready to have the candidate debate forum with every candidate on both parties, both Democrat, Republican, Independent, veteran, depending on where they're affiliated. Every single one of them is here today for today's debate, and it is your opportunity right now to take a moment and like and share this video so that more people in Alaska can participate in this and be able to let people learn who the candidates are before they go and vote. Early voting has opened up as of yesterday, so please again take a moment to take your button and click on it and share this and like it. And if you're not following and subscribed to us, please do that right now. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook, all at Politadick, and on Facebook at Politadick Unfiltered. And you can also be watching this live right now on our website, politadick.com. And while you're there on our website, if you're catching it there live when the video is over with, please go to our support page and help us out. Make it so that we can afford to come to more of these events like this one, live streaming to you unfiltered and uncut, something our mainstream media has clearly forgotten how to do. Again, this is just about ready to begin. It's supposed to start at 7 o'clock, and then they will all get to rock and roll and get to start asking the questions from each and every member that is sitting up there. It is tight quarters, as you can see from everybody that's up there in the room. And again, please take a moment, if you haven't done it yet, like and share this video. Hopefully I am coming in loud and clear right now, and everything has been cleared up. Something happened to the microphone system earlier at the courthouse. I'm going to be doing a revised video that I'll be uploading of that with a little bit better boosted sound, so it sounds better. And I'm going to cut out all the inactivity in between. And part of the stream got interrupted due to bad internet, and I've been able to lock in on nice strong signal here at the university campus at the theater here. And again, they're just about ready to begin. And please like and share. And if you are on Rumble, please go to our Rumble account and subscribe. That's rumble.com/Politadick. And subscribe to us there. As soon as we reach 100 followers or subscribers on Rumble, we'll be able to directly live stream to them also. Currently, this broadcast can be found on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and our website, politadick.com, while we are live, and also at Politadick Unfiltered, the one of our two Facebook channels that has yet to be censored or blacklisted like they've done everywhere else. So again, please take the time again to like and share this video. Go to our website, help us, support us, do what we do, make it so we can be everywhere when events like this are happening. And they're about ready to begin.
Hello everybody. We'll get started at 7 o'clock. My name is Pete Praetorius. I teach communication classes here, public speaking, and also technical writing. And I've organized these legislative forums since 2004, except for 2020 when, of course, we were all shut down. So I'm going to go over how the debate will work, essentially. And can you guys hear me when I'm talking? There's supposed to be some monitors. Last time we didn't have monitors and people couldn't hear on the stage what's going on. Yeah, we have timers down here. So, Senator Shower called me tonight and said he regrets he can't make it. He's out of state. And there's a couple other people who aren't here, and I don't know what their story is, so I can't. You can make up a story for them. All right, good. All right, so what we'll do is we'll first start off with introductions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves. And the way the candidates are kind of organized here is by Senate district and they're corresponding to House districts. As we all know, there are 2 House districts. For every Senate district, there's 3 Senate districts, which means there's 9 races and about 22 people in all these races. So after they all introduce each other, we'll start here at this side, Senate District M, and we'll begin when we have our questions. And in here, we have a bunch of questions that the campus community came up with, and our moderator, where is our moderator? Our president, there he is. Want to introduce yourself?
Hi. Hi, I'm Joe Pavia-Jones. I'm the student government president here, and I'm the moderator tonight.
All right. He's doing this now. He'll be sitting there at some point. Oh, maybe not. But he'll pull a question out of the hat, and we'll go from each race, and the first person in the alphabet will answer the first question. They'll have 2 minutes to answer the question or say something about the question, and then their opponent or opponents, as the case may be, will have 1 minute to respond to that person's answer or the question. We'll go all the way across. We have 2 portable microphones out here that you can pass along, and we have our timers down here. So what you'll see is how long you've been speaking. The first card that you'll see will be 30 seconds. You want to show them 30 seconds? 30 seconds, yeah. And then you'll see 1 minute. And if it's 1 minute for you because you're responding to a question, you'll also see time's up, stop talking. And she'll ring the bell. Yeah. And then we'll move on to the next person. And when we get all the way through, we'll switch the order. So we're in alphabetical order. Cooper is before Hughes, so that's it's alphabetical order. We learned that in school. Then we'll switch the order. And then most of the races have 2 people, but there's a couple races that have more. One race has 3 people, one race has 4 people. And we'll work our way through at the very last time, that last of the 4 people race. I think which district is that, 26 or something? No, not 26, 27 or 28. That last person will get his or her question, looks like his, and then the other 3 will get to respond. And then we'll be done with the questions, and then they'll all have 2 minutes to give a final closing statement. In the past, we've done 3 minutes, but we had a lot of people this time, so we decided to save another 20 minutes and just have 2 minute closing statement. So does that all make sense? Any questions? We'll get our moderator out here. Oh, and when the questions are all done, and before the final statement, I'll hand out all the questions so people can see the questions we all came up with, or people, mostly students came up with, and you'll all get to see. All right.
So we're just doing introductions?
Huh?
We're doing introductions?
They're doing introductions.
Okay. So we're going to start down here with introductions. So you get 1 minute for introductions. Okay. Mic down. Hello? Works? Okay. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Hello? 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 Hi, I'm Jim Cooper. I've lived in Alaska for 41 years, 27 in Palmer. We moved to Palmer after I retired from the Coast Guard after 26 years. Became actively involved in the community. We bought the Just So fabric store, and I was a chairman of the Palmer Economic Development Committee. I was president of the Palmer Chamber. I was on the Planning and Zoning Commission for Palmer. I was on the Palmer Community Council, on the Palmer Council, and I was also Palmer Mayor. And at the same time, I was president of the Alaska Municipal League, which represented 140 communities to the legislature. And I am currently a member of the Palmer Community Foundation. Me in a nutshell.
Good evening, I'm Shelley Hughes. I'm currently representing the southeast part of MatSu, and I came to Alaska as a young teen in the 70s and married and had 4 children who all went to the public schools. I lived in Hoona initially, then Bethel, out west, Alaska, then north of the Arctic Circle in Fort Yukon, briefly in Fairbanks, then in Seward, and then 32 years ago in the Palmer area. So I have a pretty good perspective of the state. I have 9 grandchildren and 3 borrowed for a total of 12. And I served in the House for 4 years, and now I've been in the Senate 6, and I'm currently the Senate Majority Leader. I've had the great opportunity to be on a variety of different committees, so I feel like I've learned a lot about this state and have a pretty good idea of where we need to go. So with that, I will pass the mic.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Delana Johnson, and I am running for House District 25. I currently represent House District 11, which is Palmer to Wasilla. Now I am running to represent the area of Palmer, the eastern side of the Matanuska River, and a couple far-flung places around Palmer. But it's great to be here. Always a pleasure to be here. My alma mater, the University of Alaska MatSu campus. A short bit about me: I was raised in Talkeetna, spent a little time in Anchorage, tiny little time in Wasilla, and most of my time in Palmer. I was Palmer Mayor, President of the Alaska Conference of Mayors, and I've been a representative for 6 years. And there's so much more I could tell you, but I'm going to stop right there and let someone else pass this along. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Tilton, and I came to Alaska via the military when I was 18 months old and have been here ever since and don't plan to leave. I was obviously raised in Anchorage, moved out to the valley when I graduated because there's no place else that I'd rather live, and it was actually affordable, and Anchorage was not, still is not. I have a family business, and I have 3 sons who were raised here in the valley who are business owners of their own and have 2 beautiful grandchildren. I went to school here. I will confess I did not graduate, but I did spend some time taking classes here. I also went to Alaska Business College. I worked for the city of Wasilla, then private business with my family raising my children, and then went to work for the legislature, was a staff for 4 years, and then was lucky enough to be elected in District 12, where I've spent time on the Finance Committee and am now the Minority Leader.
Hello everyone, I'm David Wilson, currently the State Senator for District D, running for District N due to redistricting. I just want to say thanks again for this opportunity to be here. Thank you to MatSu College for allowing us this opportunity to address some of these issues that are important to this community. I've been a state senator for 6 years. Currently, I've been the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, also serve on Senate Finance. Before my time in the legislature, I spent time working on local government, where I was a city council member for 6 years in 2003. Came to Alaska to come to school. I have degrees in education, psychology, and an MBA in health service administration. And I'm just running to continue on my greatest need, or the issue that I'm pushing is trying to help lower the cost of healthcare. We are all just one major medical away from bankruptcy, and we made a lot of good progress on that. We just did a couple of bills to help lower the cost and expanded telehealth for folks. And I know a minute's not long enough, so feel free to contact me. Website, davidwilsonforsenate.com, if you have any questions. Thanks.
Testing, okay. I'm Stephen Wright. I'm also running for Senate District N out here in the Valley, Palmer, Wasilla area. Originally, I came to Alaska because I was born on Elmendorf Air Force Base, so it's always been something I look forward to coming back to, and got the chance in the military to return to Alaska. And I've also attended UAA, UAS, UAF, but UAS was mostly when I was student teaching in Southeast Alaska. I did the Troops to Teachers after I retired from the military, so I initially started at Alaska Pacific, and then I transferred to UAS when I got a job teaching in Hyder as an intern teacher. So anyways, just a little bit about my journey with the Alaska system. I have 5 kids, and they've all graduated from the Wasilla School. So that's just a little bit about me. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Brendan Carpenter. I was born in Alaska, raised in Wasilla. After I graduated in '87 from Wasilla High School, I went to the Marine Corps, came home, went down to the Dakotas for Bible college, came home again, and started working with the youth. Started out as coaching football, which broke into working with kids with special needs. A company called Assets in Anchorage and Whaley School in Anchorage. Continued to coach as I worked my way through the Anchorage School District for about 7 years, 6 or 7 years. Then I left and went to the Alaska Military Youth Academy. And along the way, I learned how to build a team, how to work together, build relationships, and I think that that's what we could use down in Juneau as a delegation to push forward what we need to get done in the MatSu. Thank you.
Thank you, David Eastman. I live just outside of Wasilla. My wife and I have 4 kids, youngest being 2, the oldest being 7. Keeps us on our toes most days. So very much interested in what the future of the MatSu is going to look like over the next few years. It's what inspired me to run for the legislature. Now finishing my term representing the good folks in Willow and Talkeetna and Houston and Trapper Creek and that part of town. Also glad to put my experience as a first responder and former government employee to work. Saw a lot about how government works well and often how it doesn't work so well, and trying to improve that in whatever way I can. Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Stu Graham. I'm running for District 27, which is Wasilla and Meadow Lakes. I've been here in Alaska since the mid-'80s. Moved up after with the Air Force and decided to stay, and haven't regretted that decision for a minute. I've raised 3 kids up here. They all, are out and productive members of society and have decided to stay in Alaska as well. And Alaska offers great opportunities, in part because it does have a good university system and an adequate way to prepare people for different opportunities after they get out of high school. But my experience has always been in the community. I've worked for a variety of different employers doing a variety of different things, but with each of those employers I've always been very involved in the community, very involved in a variety of nonprofits, very involved with the Chambers of Commerce, which I've served as president of local chambers 3 times, and I'm now serving my 3rd term on the Wasilla City Council, and I thank you for having me here tonight.
Good evening. My name is Steve Menard, and I'm running for House District 28. I'm a 52-year Valley resident of the MatSu Valley, and I'd like to thank each of you for attending this evening and everyone online. My wife is here, Colleen, and our roots go back to the creation of this valley with the first colonists and homesteaders in 1935. I currently serve our community as a realtor and see every day the economic and growth issues facing our community and our state. I have the passion, keyword passion, for politics and want to continue serving our valley and state to help to maintain the growth in this unique place we call home. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jesse Sumner. I was born and raised in the MatSu. My wife Amber is from Wrangell, Alaska. We got 3 kids, Richard, Charlie, Leo, 8, 5, and 3. I'm a local home builder. I own Sumner Company Homes. I've been on the MatSu Borough Assembly for the last 4 years, currently deputy mayor. I serve on the Alaska Real Estate Commission, former Wasilla Planning Commission member, former vice chair of Alaska Policy Forum, and I'm running for District 28. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica Wright, running for State House District 28. I was born and raised in Taiwan. In my 20s, I came to the United States for my college education, and I got a bachelor degree in political science. At that time, I was thinking go to law school, but I met and fell in love with the American serviceman named Stephen Wright. So we got married, started a family. We have 5 children. During his military career, we moved all over the country. And at his last military assignments, we had a chance to move out here to Elmendorf. We have been here ever since, even after he retired. Reason why I'm running, because I'm deeply concerned about our state. I don't want our state to turn into the next California. So I hope I can get elected so I can serve the people and stop from what's happening.
Hello, Doug Massey, running for Senate District O, lifelong Alaskan, born and raised here in the Valley. Small business owner, wife, 3 children. We own a small business in the Kinnick Road area. Retired Alaska Wildlife Trooper after 25 years. Served my last 3 years as the division director, rank of colonel. My top 3 priorities in running are going to be public safety, infrastructure, and education. If you want to know more about me, go to my website or go to my Facebook page, Doug Massey for State Senate. Thank you.
My name's Elijah Hayes. I was born and raised in Valdez. I'm running for House District 29. A few years ago, I ran for City Council in Valdez, and one of the people that I've known my entire life said, well, Elijah, you've got a good head on your shoulders, you talk clearly, but I'm never going to vote for you, you're too young. And I said, well, how do you expect me to get the job and do a good job if you're not going to vote for a young person? And I want to see young people in politics. Because you look around the state, and the young people are moving away in record numbers. I've got 11 siblings, and 2 of them are gone already. And I hope that we can make Alaska a place that people want to be, again, and not just to retire, not just to snowbird, but to live and create a family. So I bought a house in Valdez, and I work as a laborer. I started as an apprentice, and now I'm a union steward there. And I work with my hands 70 hours a week, and I look forward to using that same energy as a legislature.
Thank you very much. Can we give them a little round of applause really quick? I just want to say again, thank you for all of you who were able to come out tonight. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with our next part, which is questions and answers. We're going to start down here at this end. Essentially, I'm going to ask the first person of each Senate district or House district a question. They have 2 minutes to respond, and then each other person in that Senate district or House district will get 1 minute to respond after that person's asked the questions. So, first person up, we're going to start down here with Jim Cooper. Are you ready? Okay. I was drawing randomly on the hat, so let's see what happens. Okay. What are you going to focus on in the Valley?
Well, I think that the main concern is in the Valley we have an education issue that we are ranked 50th in the state, in the nation for overall school performance. We're ranked 30th in overall school safety. And we're losing teachers. We need to concentrate on the education in the Valley and provide more funding for mental health professionals into the schools, make sure that our kids aren't being victimized by any laws that are being passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hughes, do you have 1 minute to...
Same question.
Yeah, same question. So each Senate district and House district will get the same question. So he gets 2 minutes to answer the question, and then you also get a minute.
Thank you. Education is important, and it is the future. Our children are the future. So part of what I worked on for 7 years across the aisle was a Read by 9 bill to hold schools accountable to make sure children by the end of third grade are proficient readers. Now we need to focus on grades 4 through 12 and to make sure that the students are mastering the objective, that there's a focus on the academics, and that our kids are prepared to be productive citizens. It's not throwing more money at the situation is not the answer. And this isn't just for the Valley, this is actually statewide. The second thing, as far as the Valley, is the infrastructure and the roads. We worked as a team to bring back $30 million for our roads, and you're seeing some of that construction at work. We need to continue that. That life and safety issues go to the top, and when it comes to infrastructure, we have to focus on that.
Thank you very much. We're gonna move on to a different question. Are you ready? Let's see what you got. Let's see. How would you deal with the drug and other addictive substances epidemics?
I'm sorry, the last part of the question.
Okay, let's start everything again. How would you deal with the drug and other addictive substances epidemics?
So one thing we know is that just making a law doesn't change people's behavior. And so I think that first of all, you have to acknowledge that you can only do so much as far as changing people's behavior. You can't do that by making a law. But we do have a number of programs, and certainly Health and Social Services is our largest health driver in the state budget. So we're the appropriators, and sitting on finance, I evaluate the programs and we look through what is being funded. And we hear lots and lots of requests. We hear a lot of people that come and tell us the stories and talk about the programs that they have. The question is how to focus on the ones that actually do the best work. And we have a lot of those work is done by individuals that have specific programs that they work on in the Valley. But it's a really, is that 1 minute mean I'm done?
Nope, you've got another
2
minute.
minutes. You get 2
I'm
minutes.
sorry, okay, I'm like a little bit nervous here about that.
Very good.
So I have personal experience, in my family with people with addiction, and I struggle with saying, what I can specifically do, but I do know that generally I would say that if government isn't going to help, it has to be somehow people helping people, but we can help give funding to those people that choose to spend their life and their energy and effort helping other people. So that's what my goal is to really focus on people and programs that have a passion and have the opportunity to do the work that needs to be done right here in the Valley.
Thank you. Okay. Good, different question. Okay.
Okay. Thank
There we
you.
go. Okay. What do you propose to alleviate the traffic on the Glen Highway? There we go.
Wow, that's a good question. The Glen Highway is definitely a place where there is definitely a backup of traffic, but I think as people here in the Valley, we can look at that as a positive, because the reason for that is because I would concur that it has to do with the mandates and shutdowns, and I encourage that a lot of people move to the Valley, and the Valley is one of the best places in Alaska to live, in my opinion, and there are many great schools and great places for the kids to go. So for alleviating the traffic, I do think that, one time we had some funding put aside, and we're looking at doing a bridge, the Kinnick Arm Crossing, that did get put on pause by a previous governor, but is something that I think that we should continue to look into, because it is at a point where the traffic on the Glen Highway is almost even dangerous, because there is so much of it. But that being said, we also have to finish the other infrastructure projects that we are working on right now. With Knik Goose Bay Road would have to, have the expansions that are done to be able to accept the additional traffic that would come from some kind of a crossing across the Knik Arm.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go down to District N. We have a different question. Okay. Are you going to push for protective laws for minorities?
Is that randomly chosen?
I'm just putting on the hat. I'm just reading.
I'm sorry. One more time?
Okay. Are you going to push for protective laws for minorities?
I'm going to push for protective laws for everybody. Whether red or yellow or white, we're all precious in His sight. And that's what I believe, and I feel that we can't start excluding, so why not just protect everyone? I mean, that's pretty simple, and I think that's something that we have done in the past, and we've pushed for more troopers in the Valley. We've passed legislation to help get more funding for that. We moved the highway patrol folks from Seward to the MatSu. We helped repeal SB 91 during my time in the legislature, and we're going to continue to push for better public safety, more district attorneys, faster process of criminals through the judicial system, and that's something that I believe in. So, yes, I will help protect all folks of all ethnic backgrounds, and being the only minority in the Senate that is of my descent, it's something that we add to value. So, but I just plan to help everybody.
Thank you very much. Well, we're still in the same Senate District N, so we're going to still stay with the same question. So you have 1 minute.
Okay, could you repeat the question again?
Oh, yes. Are you going to push for protective laws for minorities?
Okay. I think our laws protect all the people. I mean, as far as the laws that we have, they're to provide for maximum benefit of the people of Alaska. So just as in I'm pro-life, I believe all lives matter, so from conception till natural death. So I think that's something that we have to stay in check on and make sure that we're not doing anything outside of maximum benefit for the people of the state. And that's in our Constitution. And we have an opportunity to vote yes on the Constitutional Convention and be able to address a lot of concerns that come up here and there with these type of issues. So I think our judges are leaning pretty far left at this current time, and that's one of the main reasons that we need to have a constitutional convention, is because we have the Missouri plan, and that's something that we need to change. Missouri doesn't even use the Missouri plan, so something that we should look at. So yes, I believe all lives matter, and I believe that it's important that we have this maximum benefit for the people of the state.
Thank you very much. Oh, we're still, District 10? Okay.
I had a good answer too.
Okay, new question. Let's see what you get. Okay, it's a long one. Okay. University of Alaska professors have received just 1% raise over the past 6 years. University administration is now proposing a 3% raise this year, 2.75% next year, and 2.5% the third year of the contract currently being negotiated. What do you think this level of raises is adequate?
That's a loaded question. On the outside looking in, since I've never been to Juneau, I would say no. The UA system is a land-grant-based system. Most professors and some of the students generally are against resource development, where most of the money that they're now asking for comes from. So our UA system is set up to where you shouldn't be asking for the money from the government. It should be coming from the UA system itself through that Lands Act. But yeah, that's how I feel about that.
False advertising comes to mind, and I'm reminded of a conversation I had with a tenured professor at UAA. And he mentioned that when he was first recruited up to Alaska to come work as a professor, he was asked, well, how many kids do you have in your family? He said, well, we've got a lot of kids, a large family. And I said, great. Just know that your salary isn't as high as maybe it should be, or maybe you might want it to be, but that's because we have a permanent fund dividend here in Alaska, and so it'll more than make up for the difference. But since we've, out of the last 7 years, been cutting that permanent fund dividend and not following the state law that says how much money that should be, false advertising, I think, comes to mind. So that 1% raise historically would have been balanced out maybe a little bit with the dividend, and as the dividend grows, it can balance it out further. But right now we are not following that law, so I think that everyone, including our faculty and our staff at the school, all suffer.
Well, thank you for the question. When you look at percentages of raises, you typically look at the cost of living allowance, and you look at how long a person has been with the system. But in the case of the University of Alaska system, it's a land grant system, and it has the opportunity to generate funds. It also has the exceptional opportunity to generate brilliant minds. And so far, we've had problems as far as communicating with the public what it is that's happening at the University of Alaska. It's unfortunate that the University of Alaska isn't really viewed as one of the crown jewels of Alaska because we have spent a lot of money here. We have a tremendous capability here with our staff, but we need to improve how people look at the University of Alaska so that these raises can easily go through the legislature and be accepted by the public. Thank you.
Question? Okay, here we go. What would you do to improve the safety and conditions of high schools in the Valley?
The safety and what?
The safety and conditions of high schools in the Valley.
Well, that's something we're battling nationally on, dealing with safe schools. And as a product of, this Valley school system, I can't act my age and say that we never had to deal with that. The times they are changing. And I'm definitely in favor of the public safety and having participation with the police force and adequate presence. And that's how you deter that violence.
Yeah, so I guess I would say that I'm not sure that the state should really do anything about that. I mean, we have local school districts with local control, and I think that local solutions, as long as the districts have adequate resources, those are going to be better solutions and, better address the problem than anything the state legislature might pass as a program. I do know that, over at Colony and some of our high schools, we have school safety officers that are supplied by the city of Wasilla. The MatSu Borough, I believe, gives a pass-through grant for that program. And, that's an entirely local solution, and I don't really see that the state would like a statewide program would necessarily have much to add to that. So, thanks.
Two things came to my mind. First, we shouldn't allow boys use the girls' bathrooms or in the locker room. So I think that's definitely something I think we passed a law, didn't we, in the borough, that we don't allow boys use the girls' bathroom, something like that. So that's number one thing. Another thing I can think of is to have the police or a soldier in every school, because every time you see shooting, because the people are not allowed to bring guns to school. But if we have soldiers or have police officers in each school, we should be able to prevent shooting. So that's it. Thank you.
Another question. Here we go. What is the first thing you would change if you got voted to office?
Well, I can talk about the first piece of legislation that I would push if I'm elected. So I can speak personally about this. The first piece of legislation that I would push is a violent offenders registry. And the way, it's not my idea. A family member's daughter was murdered in Ohio. And had they known that this person was a violent offender living very close to them, this would have never happened. So the first piece of legislation that I would push, and it really has very little fiscal impact, because we could run it concurrent with the sex offender registry, is a violent offenders registry where anyone convicted of a crime of kidnapping or a violent assault or any what we deem felony level crime that meets the criteria, they would have to register in a violent offenders registry, and we would know where they live. Therefore, my daughter, my 13-year-old daughter, I wouldn't send her walking in front of this person's house. So my first order of business, if I am elected, when I am elected, is to push for a violent offenders registry. Thank you.
Same question for me?
Oh, different, okay. Different district, different question. Where do you sit at no minimum wage?
For years, it seems that I've been hearing, don't raise the minimum wage, you'll see increases in inflation. But for years, the minimum wage has stayed the same, and inflation's approaching insane numbers this year. I don't think that legislating out a minimum wage is going to protect us. And I think having a minimum wage protects the people from those who would wish to use them to steal their labor, essentially. I'm pro-union. I work with a union right now, and we fight every day for our wage. You know, 50 years ago, they were fighting for half a cent. And as I look at my wage increase this year, and it happens to be 1 or 2%, and I'm looking at my fuel bill, which has gone up 50%, it makes me wish and hope for higher wages, and also to work for them. I think at the root of it, though, instead of raising a minimum wage or having no minimum wage, I would like to see companies take a step back from greed and lower their prices, because if you look at the graphs, it's after expenses, and they can blame it on shipping all they want, but it's just greed. You put more money in the pockets of your shareholders and take it away from your people.
Thank you very much. So that is our first round of questions and answers. We are going to do a second round. This round, we're going to start down at this end, but the last person to speak of each district will be asked the question first, and then everyone else in that district will get their 1 minute afterwards to answer.
Before we start, we're having a problem with the timing because it's flipping back and forth. So could you work your way down? So go to 1.5 minute, 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then time to stop, because it's been flipping back and forth and people are glancing and I think they're getting a little confused. That would be helpful.
Okay.
Is that okay? We are. The old people down here.
So start with the big number and then go down.
Yeah, start with the 1.5, please.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to start down here, District M again with Hughes. Ready? Okay. You get 2 minutes, and then Cooper, you get 1 minute to respond. Okay. What actions will you take to improve pedestrian facilities and trails in the MatSu and the state?
Good question. Well, one of the great things about trails is how it helps tourism, and tourism is one of our major industries, and there's a lot of potential year-round for that. So, and we have the Arctic Winter Games also coming to the MatSu in 2024, which is pretty exciting, and that can increase economic activity, and we expect it to be in the millions, actually. So, we have passed legislation to or funding actually for trails. And I think we all need to be cognizant of, particularly in the coming year, that kind of thing in order for the Arctic Winter Games. And I would say when we have volunteers who want to do grooming that we need to support as a legislature, we need to support and allow them to do that. We need to allow volunteers. I know I worked on the Rex Trail for a hunting trail that's actually up north towards Fairbanks, so it's not right here in the valley. But one of the problems was that, that it was closed because of problems to certain weights of vehicles. And there were volunteers raising their hands and saying, I want to go help, I've got equipment, I will do it. DOT had a gravel pit nearby, everything was set. But at the time, DNR didn't have a way to make use of the volunteers. So we brought the state parks folks in who did use volunteers and to work it out so people could get involved. So that's one of the things that we can do. We don't have a magic wand. We can't order the executive branch to do a certain thing, but we can bring them together and figure out solutions, and that's what we did when it came for working on those kind of trails compared to how the state park trails work. So I think that's something in the valley and statewide where we can help get our trails open for pedestrians, get them open for all kinds of uses, including four-wheelers, snow machines, etc. And horses.
Thank you. I want to thank the current legislature for working on the Kinnick Goose Bay Road and getting that updated. And I think that we need to look at the Old Glen Highway, for example. If you drive that at night, it's kind of scary. It's dark. It's not wide. We need to look at roads like that. In the cities, they're responsible for their sidewalks and their crosswalks, but the state should get involved as well when they need to put in extra stoplights. I know it's on the STIP program to do that, but sometimes they kind of drag their heels saying that the one stoplight is too close to the next stoplight, and yeah, there are rules, but we need to protect our pedestrians, and particularly the children that are walking on the roads or riding their bikes on the road. So we need to make sure that we have adequate, byways next to the highways and increase lighting and increase the width of the roads so that we can keep all of our people safe. Thank you.
Okay, next question. Do you think a right to privacy should be in the Alaska State Constitution?
That's a great question, and the right to privacy was an amendment. It wasn't part of the original Constitution. It was an amended in 1972. Depends on what the right to privacy is interpreted to mean. I would say when it comes to abortion, then, and that's what most people interpret the right to privacy to mean. If that's what it means, then no, I don't think it should be there. Because I think there is levels of things that aren't, when you're dealing with two human lives, everyone has a right to the life, right to life and the right to live. But there's other levels of privacy that should be, so I just want to get that straight out there. I don't want to avoid that answer, but if you're talking about other things like internet privacy, various pieces that, various things that no one needs to know about. No one needs to know how many guns you have. No one needs to know what happens in your home. No one needs to have access to your bank records and so on and so forth. No one needs to be able to do those things. Well, yes, certainly, I think we should have a right to privacy, but as it's been interpreted by the state Supreme Court and the national U.S. Constitution, as far as the medical right to privacy for abortion, then in that case, no, I do not.
Will the bridge from Anchorage to Point Mackenzie ever be built?
Wow, am I on a roll here? Kind of sounds like a previous question of mine that I had. Will it ever be built? I believe it will be built. It was put on a pause by a previous governor and brought back to life. The permitting that is needed is in place. The studies are still active and available. I think it's just a matter of timing. I do believe we have to, as I said earlier, deal with the situations with infrastructure that we have right now with Goose Bay Road, with the repairs that are happening now, so that the traffic could not be congested. We already have enough congestion going on there. So, but in answer to the question, I would say yes, I do see it being built sometime in the future.
How likely or unlikely will Pebble Mine be opened up?
Okay, so I actually have that here. The permitting process for Pebble, it's typically for a mine, it takes about 7 years to do the all the permitting for at the national level. I was at a mining event where they talked about this. So, but Pebble is in some of the. It's a project listed in the category of project in or near development. So as we look at Pebble Mine and we understand that it can be done responsibly, and that it can be, that everything with the main thing that I think, the main focus I think here with Pebble Mine is it's a copper, gold, molybdenum, silver, and it has a lot of minerals there, so it's not only a gold mine, it's a copper mine. So there are opportunities for this mine to progress, to get through the permitting process, and I don't think that they should be unfairly dealt with just because they seem to be so many miles from a watershed. I can see, as in the mines that we currently have, like Red Dog Mine. Red Dog Mine is a mine that and there's a lot of other mines they were talking about in this meeting that I went to, but some of the streams didn't have fish before, and then they recycled, they cleaned the environment, and all of a sudden there are fish there. So I think that it has a good possibility of being a very successful mine, and that we need to develop our resources. We need to have PFDs from our resources, and this is really important that we stay on top of the ability to have our resources developed, and I think it should be on track.
You know, I think Alaska has done a really great job in terms of responsible resource development with our current records and our mining. We have a lot of critical resources in terms of Pebble. You know, Pebble is a project that needs to continue to work with the communities to get their input, to get their buy-in. And you know, I'm not part of that community, so whether Pebble should go or not, that's a process that the federal government needs to make sure is permitting. I disagree with them preempting them to say no before the actual permits and the designs are actually developed, and that we should never be in favor of preempting a project in pre-development. But that's something that we need to make sure that the tailings and the things are done responsibly, away from and get the community buy-in to make sure that it's safe for all, because we don't want to trade one resource for another resource, but a way that we can safely develop all resources. So with that, I think that we do a great job with mining.
Thank you. Okay. Next question.
I think you go to David next.
He was the last one.
Yeah, but it should go in alphabetical order.
I thought we were doing reverse alphabetical.
Yeah, well, we're on the last person, and then
All right.
we'll go the other way. Okay.
Frank's choice.
Yeah, here we go. Do you support the Alaska Long Trail?
The Alaska Long Trail is a project which was mentioned a little bit earlier in one of the questions about you know, developing trails and infrastructure for things other than vehicles. But the Alaska Long Trail has tremendous potential when it comes to being able to attract tourists, when it comes to be able to our Alaska residents being able to use and to access our resources, because the Long Trail will deal with both motorized and non-motorized traffic, and will stretch all the way from Seward up to Fairbanks. And while the trail isn't finalized yet, I mean the route for the trail isn't finalized yet, there have been several studies and a couple of different options on the table. I think the Alaska Long Trail is an important project for us to continue to move forward with, because it does reflect our culture, which is not just driving on the road system. It's hiking, it's biking, it's snow machining, it's ATVing, it's using horses to access our resources that we have, so that we can go hunting, we can go fishing, we can go mining, and we can go out recreating with our families and having a great time. So the bottom line is, yes, I support the Alaska Long Trail.
So one of the things that I have to keep in mind as an elected representative is that there are a lot of things that I might personally like, but as an elected representative, I'm not just speaking for myself and my family, I'm also speaking for about 18,000 other residents in the Valley. And I personally have enjoyed, the outdoors, wilderness backpacking, backpacked over 1,000 miles over the years. And so the Long Trail is something that I would probably get a lot of personal benefit out of personally. But I would defer in that kind of situation and issues like it to the people I'm representing. How would they like me to vote on that particular issue? And if that's something that is a priority for them, I think that my vote would be yes. And if that is less of a priority than something else, like in this case, I'm thinking some of the traffic and safety issues dealing with KGB Road. If it's a question of one or the other, I would defer with my constituents.
I think the projects that get us out into this beautiful state are a positive thing. I think a lot of Alaskans forget just how beautiful and how expansive our state is. I've lived in Alaska my whole life, and I've never been to Southeast. That being said, a trail like this would be a way to get into areas that might not have been accessible to everybody. Might make it easier to go for a great recreation time with your family. Anytime we can get out and enjoy this beautiful state, I think it's a positive thing. I can't think of too many people that would be against that. I'd be for it.
What is your stance on transgender issues?
I think everybody has freedom to do whatever they want, choose whatever lifestyle they choose to live, but we should not bring the transgender issue to the public school or force the children to immerse in that kind of environment, exposed to that kind of environment. I think if this is school, they should come to learn how to read and write, learn do the math and basic skills. They should not have to learn about transgender at an early age. Yeah, that's my basic feeling about that. So, thanks.
So, I guess I haven't really given it a lot of thought. I think it's a pretty small issue compared to a lot of things. There's I think like 6 kids in the MatSu borough that are transgender, and making a huge deal of it is probably not particularly beneficial. I think there are concerns potentially if they're using the bathrooms and there's not adequate privacy, and I guess I understand they took the stall doors off at Colony. I think that precipitated some of this recent issue. So, you know, whatever bathroom they're using. Okay.
Would you like me to yield some of my time so you can finish that, or are you good? Okay. If and when I win and get down to Juneau, I can tell you I'll spend little to no time on social issues. This is more about, my constituents are worried about transportation infrastructure and the climate that we're concerned about with the ever-changing inflation. It's not going to be on my radar. I'm more concerned about what my needs are at the state level, and my constituents are concerned about fixing Bogard Road, full PFD, term limits, and local crime, and how to battle that. And then also, as a Marine Corps veteran, how we can better serve our veterans here in the state.
How do you feel you could fail as an elect politician?
Say that again.
Yeah, okay. How do you feel you could fail as an elect politician?
Well, there's a lot of ways to fail as an elected politician. I think first and foremost, you must represent the people that elect you. And when I go to Juneau, and if it's about me, I've already failed. So when I go to Juneau, it is about the people that have elected me, first and foremost. It's not about the issues that are important to me, it's about the issues that are important to them. So first failure would be not representing your constituents. Again, that's a tough question. There's a lot of ways to fail. Another way to fail is to not work with your legislative body collectively, not to be collaborative. I've seen over the past couple of years what the result of that is, and you can look around the state and see how legislators have failed. You go to different areas and you see 4-lane roads all around certain cities, and you at home we fail to bring home the bacon. So working collaboratively, collectively with others is a must. If you don't do that, you fail. I could go on and on and on, but those are two examples of potential failures if you were to be elected. Thanks.
Okay. What are you intending to do to provide affordable reproductive health options? Some things like birth control, hysterectomies, abortion, gender affirmation care.
Yeah, so broadly, those are mostly medical issues, obviously. And while I'm not going to go out passing out birth control, I would like to see birth control able to be gotten without a doctor's note. What goes on in your body is your choice, and so I want to see, in this particular case, women being able to take more control in their healthcare choices, whether or not that's getting contraceptives more easily, discreetly, more affordable, or having a hysterectomy without needing a signature from somebody else. I have a friend in the lower 48 who was going for a mastectomy, and he needed all sorts of extra paperwork and jump through all sorts of hoops, and I don't want to ever see that happen here. I think with your body, it's your choice, and if you want to change it, that's up to you. I'm for a public option as far as healthcare, and that would reduce some of the costs. I have a chronic disease, I have Crohn's, so I have to deal with the medical system quite often, and it's rather exhausting. So I would just look for the best option for alleviating that pressure.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all of those answers. So that's going to conclude our questions and answer period. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our final statement. But before we do, we're going to give them a statement.
We'll hand out all the questions.
Okay.
You see the questions, you can give them theirs.
So the piece of paper we're about to hand them is pinched the list of all the questions that we just asked, and there's also other questions that we did not get to. And this time they have 2 minutes to essentially give a final statement, and in that they can also address any other questions that they did not get the answer. So yeah, you'll get 2 minutes for your final statement. Did they get a copy?
Oh, yeah, I gave you copies for that.
Where are they?
I counted them out.
They're not here. No.
I got plenty.
Okay.
I counted out 22. Okay, John.
There you go. We're going to start the same way. We're starting at this end. We'll just go down. So let's give you a moment, please.
Reverse order, do you get to go first and all that? Right? I'm saying, how it goes through.
So again, we'll start down here at this end, and we'll just make our way down to the other end here. So you got 2 minutes. Ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have to read this because I was geared up for a 3-minute thing. So, you hear the current legislators talk about our resources, oil, gas, timber, fish, but what they normally miss is the number one resource actually are the people in the state. And so, we are number one in the nation for sexual assault, domestic violence, alcoholism, and teen suicide. And we've been that way for the last 20 years. We have net migration out of the state is worst in the nation, and our employment outlook is predicted to be the worst in the nation for the next 5 years. We have legislators who want to arm school personnel, who want to change the Alaska Constitution to make abortion illegal, who want to pass laws discriminating against our most vulnerable people, the children. So my charge to you is to look past the words and the rhetoric and look at the actions. Actions always speak louder than words. You need to elect someone who believes in honesty, decency, fairness, and treating all people with respect. Someone who listens to all Alaskans before making a decision and not try to force their views and their beliefs on you. You need to, like I say, look for people who have their own, that will listen to your views and then make decisions based on that for all Alaskans. We need to have someone who actually believes in Alaska's people, Alaska's community, not for one, but for all. Thank you.
Yeah, so you got 2 minutes.
Thank you all for coming tonight on a weeknight and listening to all of us. How many of you are students here at the university? Okay, I forgot to mention in my opening that I'm a graduate, and I chose to walk for my graduation here rather than at the campus in Anchorage, so I just thought I'd throw that in. It has been an honor to serve, and I think my track record speaks for itself as far as, we're all gifted with different things, and one of mine is being a consensus builder and trying to figure out, even with people that have disagreements, where can we come together and how can we get things across the finish line. The proof is in the pudding. And so there were 4 things just this year that working across the aisle and with different members in the House and Senate that would have otherwise been blocked and died that we got through. We got more done in the area of agriculture than we have the entire time I've been serving in this 1 year. We got a bill that was doomed to die in the House and Senate Finance Committees on addressing the sexual assault problem, giving prosecutor tools to get rapists off the streets. We got that $30 million in road money that was not put in at the Finance Committee level. We got the Read by 9 bill. So those are all things where we had to pull people together, and that is one of my strengths, and I'm grateful for that gift. You know, listening to all of you has been my MO. I think I've probably held as many or maybe even more chats and town halls and things. You know, listening to people that don't agree with me so I can learn from them is very much key. And I am proud to be a yes on the Constitutional Convention because I trust you as the people. And there have been over 230 state constitutional conventions held around the country. And they are for times when the legislature doesn't want to restrict its own power. And that's where we are right now, so it's important we are a yes.
Thanks a lot for having the forum tonight. I really appreciate being here, and it's been an honor to serve as an elected official for the last 12 years. I sit on the Finance Committee. I'm the only MatSu member on the Finance Committee. Hopefully that may change in our upcoming session, I don't know. But for me, it's very important to make sure that I represent and look out for the Valley's interests, because all bills go through the Finance, most bills, they don't all, but any bill with a fiscal note will go through the Finance Committee, and the Valley needs to have strong representation and really have someone that's paying attention, so we don't get left out in the cold in a sense. Right now, that's very important. I talked not enough about public safety or so on that could be done, could be addressed with our drug epidemic. But MatSu has a tremendous need for additional troopers, additional public safety, and so on. We were able to accomplish some funding for additional troopers this year, but that's because we paid attention on finance and doing the work that needed to be done. I do try to work across the aisle. I have strong opinions, and I'm not afraid to let people know about that. But I'm also not someone that's going to cause division or not represent our interests here in the Valley. The number one thing for me is to make sure that when I talk to people, I treat people with respect, and I treat my colleagues with respect, and I get that respect in return, and I appreciate that very much. I don't think that our future in Alaska is bleak, but I do think that we have to continue to encourage opportunity. Education is a piece of that. Funding our university is a piece of that. Alaska has a great future, and we need to keep that going. Thank you.
So I'll also say thank you to everyone for coming out this evening, and for those of you who are watching online. I have spent the last 2 years as the minority leader, and that means working with the majority, which was a coalition of Democrats and Republicans, and working with them, the two things that I would say that we really pushed as a House minority was a stable fiscal plan for the state of Alaska, because if we don't stabilize our economy and have some long-term stabilization where we are able to plan out, because businesses plan for years and we can barely get a budget done in 1 year. And it's important that the people receive the dividend as part of that, of the statutory formula, unless something happens with that. That is the law on the books. And so stabilizing that and prioritizing the people when you're stabilizing that, my number one priority with that is doing a constitutional spending limit revision, because we don't have one right now. The one we have on the books is very high. We need to reduce that so that we don't have runaway spending. And that way, legislators aren't spending dollars that they don't have and risking the future of our children, the future of our economy. And our economy means everything. If we have jobs, if we have jobs here, jobs solve a lot of problems for a lot of people. You know, some of the crime problems we have and the drug problems that we have are because people are in need of that, need of a good paying job. It would solve a lot of those challenges. I am a person who is a private business owner, so I would like to see that government doesn't need to be involved in our businesses, over-regulating our businesses, so I'm for less regulation, no mandates from the government, and local control. So I think all of those things are really important. Those are all things I work for. The second thing we asked for was the crime package, and I couldn't even get hearings on those crime bills, so thank you. Is that done? I was done, right? Yeah, you're done. I was done.
I was just offering some more of my time. I don't think I need 2 minutes.
Oh, he was giving.
Again, Senator David Wilson, running for re-election for Senate District N. Website for more information to contact me is davidwilsonforsenate.com, or we can meet afterwards outside if you want to chit-chat, and thanks to those that have been here in the audience tonight and those watching online as well. Again, I just want to bring experienced leadership back to the Alaska State Senate. We are still not done on working on ways to fix our healthcare, still need to repeal certificate of need laws, still want to work with other folks to see what we can do to better our economy, to get a lot of our overburdensome regulations out of the way of businesses, to see how we can help thrive our community and plan for the future with our roads. I was on a phone call today with the Department of Transportation looking at how we can plan for the next 10 to 15 years of growth within our valley and plan those roads and plan for those land acquisitions ahead of time to meet those needs. And having a future outlook on our state is something that I'm about, that's something I would like to do. I would like to bring that type of leadership back to this Alaska State Senate, and I would urge and support your vote if you live in districts 27 and 28. Please make sure you get out and vote. If you are watching at home and have an absentee ballot, make sure you put 2 stamps on that thing to make sure it doesn't get returned. With that, I just want to say thanks to everyone and have a good night and be safe out there.
Yeah, I'm Stephen Wright, and I'm running for State Senate District N, House District 2728, as mentioned. I think it's important that we look at what's happening within our state government at this point in time. We have a really, really, really big government, and that needs to be reeled in. I mean, we're 4 times the size of the state of Florida. It used to be 3 last time I did my thing, and then I went to a meeting and they talked about it being 4 times. So what that does is a large public sector hurts the private sector. So we need to have a strong private economy that, like for example, Alaska, not only are we last currently in our private economy, we have less opportunities as far as the private sector, land and things like that. Only 1% of our land is owned by the private sector. So we need to develop our resources. It's something that's very important because of Alaska, where it's positioned in the world. We are a key strategic location militarily, and we are technically the Panama of the North, because as the Arctic opens up and we have our icebreakers, and the resources in the Arctic are vital to the world. And so this is going to be a key strategic location, not only for transportation of goods by vessels, but and if you look at it right now, we're not developing our resources. So I have 30 seconds. So diesel fuel is about to run out. We have 25 days of diesel fuel left. We're draining our petroleum reserves. We need an Alaska, we have a Defense Production Act. We need an Alaska Production Act to where we can get things going faster than what we have now. We need to streamline, get rid of regulations. There's a lot of things we need to do as the state of Alaska to become strong again, to maximize and provide maximum benefit for the people. So there's a lot to look at, and there's a lot to do. Thank you.
Brendan Carpenter, running for House District 27. We have everything beneath our feet to be a leader in solar panels. We have the elements and the minerals to produce for the batteries for EVs. When our administration says just buy an EV, just get an electric vehicle. China has a 25% stake, ownership stake, in the batteries that are used for those vehicles. We have everything we need here in Alaska to be a leader in a lot of those areas. And it's just being able to do it. It's been great coming out. I think it's nice that the students would come out. Thank you for this opportunity.
You know, sometimes the most important problems are the ones that we least want to talk about. And we can't afford to not talk about problems just because they're difficult to solve. And I'll tell you, the one thing that is most standing in between your will as members of the public and policy that takes place in Juneau is the corruption in our state. And there's no way to bandy about it. You know, when you have the people of Alaska voting to move the capital to the MatSu Valley, you would think that that would happen. But the legislature decided that they were going to ignore the will of the people, and the capital is still in Juneau. When the governor delivered on his promise to move the state session just for 30 days to the valley, and the state law said the governor shall decide, the legislature, most of them, decided to ignore the state law. Now, the Constitution said you need 40 legislators to move the side of the legislative session, and they couldn't get 40 legislators, so they voted again, and they still couldn't get 40 legislators, so then they decided to just go to Juneau anyways, even though the Constitution said no. That's corruption. And I'll tell you, it's on both sides. It's not a partisan issue. You know, when the governor was in the legislature and there was going to be a vote taken to override Governor Waco's veto of the PFD, he voted against it, along with every other member of the Republican caucus. And then they said, well, 2 years ago we had this decision that we were going to go with the leader at the time, even though we didn't want to. That's corruption. Whether we're talking about the legislature following the law that says that the session is going to be 90 days long and not longer, there were very few of us that were willing to actually enforce that law this year. And of course, the legislature was in session for, well, 217 days, 212 days, you know, just during my tenure. This year, you know, they're a little bit shorter because it's an election year. But the corruption is something we have to talk about, and you're not going to be called a team player if you talk about it, but we have to. We can't afford not to.
Well, I too would like to thank everybody for being here tonight and thank the students and staff and the administration here at the university for making this facility available to us. You know, this facility was paid for and is being paid for, you know, by everybody in the state right now, and it's great to have people of different opinions come forward and share those opinions and be able to do that in this great academic environment. But there's a lot of things going on in the state that happen with the 60 legislators down there. I think most of our folks up here have mentioned that we need a sustainable budget. We can't just budget for one year at a time and expect that to work. Our Constitution makes it so that we can only, so that we can't bind future legislation or future legislatures, excuse me, by things that we do in one legislative session, but we do need to come up with a system for a sustainable budget that's going to work, and we need to make those changes through the Constitution. We need to ensure our PFD is secure and you get your share of the oil wealth that is our resource as we go through. We need to make sure that our children are safe. We need to make sure that our businesses are safe. We need to make sure that we are safe, whether we're traveling to and from work or sitting in our homes. And we need to make sure that our elections are fair and that our education system teaches people how to think and not what to think. So we do also need to work on judicial and election reform. Those are things which are kind of near the top of my list. And we need to make sure that the persons that we elect to the legislature are going to be effective, they're going to be responsible, and they're going to be respected. Right now, we don't have that in this district. We need to work on that. We need to have someone that can work with committees, someone that has proven that they can bring people together and move things forward. And I'm Stu Graham, District 27, and thank you again for having us here tonight.
Thank you, campus, and the people in attendance. I appreciate you getting your tickets early and getting a good seat for this event. I'm Steve Menard. I love Alaska. I love this valley. Believe it or not, this is a place where you can still come, work hard, and create a piece of paradise. That's very rare in this environment and culture we live in today. You know, my campaign focuses on a few issues that are critical. You got to have the infrastructure. You got to have the full PFD because it's a life changer. I'm a realtor. I know for a fact what kind of game changer that is to families when they can purchase home and land. It changes the whole scope of their family dynamics. I believe in term limits. Get down to Juneau, do what you're sent to do, and then get out. Let somebody else step in and do it. Local crime, it's coming. It's getting pushed from Anchorage into the valley. We see it every day. And if we don't get on board to try to deter it, it's going to take us over. I look forward to work with our Valley delegation, teamwork again, in Juneau, and represent the MatSu Valley as one strong voice. Thank you for ranking me #1 in the primary, and I appreciate your continued support on November 8th.
So I'd like to address this question number 17. What will you do to fix that lame-ass roundabout that David Eastman put in on Bogart? It says. Well, I didn't know that Representative Eastman was responsible for that, but if he was, then good on him, and I'd like to put another lame-ass roundabout over Bogart and Engstrom at least. You know, I think capital projects out in the MatSu are very important. We've got a growing population, and we deserve an equal an equitable share of infrastructure spending out here. But also I'd like to address this, what is the first thing you would like to change if you got voted into office? I would like to amend the uniform rules to allow legislators to participate at their local LIO by video conference. We live in the 21st century. The financial burden of living in Juneau for 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, I don't know, what was it, 10 months that one year? You know, it really limits the quality of candidates you can get. And your representatives are a lot closer to the lobbyists than they are to the people that are electing them. So that would address both of those. Be better candidates and they're closer to the people. And then just real quick on nuclear power. You know, 70 years in, we know now that nuclear power on a per megawatt basis is the safest form of power as far as, you know, loss of life per megawatt. It is also the most reliable source of power. So I do think that potentially that could have a benefit in the more rural areas, like a small modular nuclear reactor, which there is permitting going on with FERC right now. So anyway, there's a lot of questions and not a lot of time to answer them. So Jesse Sumner, happy to hear from anybody that would like to talk to me, and please vote for me.
My goal is to make Alaska great again. In 2009, when our family first moved here, Alaska was a much better place to live. Because I remember our private economy was strong back then, unlike now. Because I remember back then, Anchorage was a hustle bustle place, unlike now. And this happens when in 2016, Governor Walker vetoed our PFD and also the state legislature decided to cap our PhD, and our private economy collapsed. It's like an earthquake for the private sector. Hundreds of businesses closed down, and thousands of people lost their jobs. And our state had the highest budget. This year, in 2022, our state budget is 17 billion. If you divide by 750,000 population, it's 23,650 per capita. We have like 3 or 4 times the state of Florida. The big government spending, so what happened was, the last 7 years, the state government capped our PhD, but they did not cap our spending. It hurts our economy, and I would like to change that, because our Alaska families suffers from PhD cuts. For example, this year we could get close to $6,000 if we follow the original formula, but we won't get $3,000 roughly. So you do the math, family 5, each person get lost 3,000 PhD income. In 10 years, they lost 150,000. Anyway, I'm Jessica Wright for State House, District 28, for life, for PhD, for economy, for Second Amendment. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go back to my legislative priorities when I'm elected. Public safety, infrastructure, education. I want to explain those a little bit. So public safety, I come from the public safety world. Without a safe civil society, people are less productive. So increasing public safety means more productive people going to work, making more money. You have a more productive society when people feel safe. The second thing I'm going to talk about is infrastructure. And I don't just mean roads and bridges, I mean broadband, which is important to colleges. It's important to businesses. We have a very underrated broadband system. We need to increase that so we can attract new businesses out to the valley specifically. I know that working for the troopers, I looked into moving headquarters out here. We couldn't support the amount of data that had to go back and forth. So improving that type of infrastructure is important, as well as roads and bridges. Also, education. So on education, I don't just mean more brick and mortar schools. I'm talking trade schools. So I had the privilege of going to the AOGA conference, Alaska Oil and Gas Association, about a month and a half ago, and it's scary, the worker shortage that we're facing with projects like Pitka, with projects like Willow. The oil companies are scrambling for workers, so not just more public trade schools, more private trade schools as well. I would support those. So those are the issues that I'm going to focus on. Doug Massey, Senate District O. Coming from a law enforcement background, I look at things, I assess them, I take time making my decision. I don't go in there with a decision made. I go in there and make decisions based on facts, data, and I'm able to work with others to do that. Thank you.
I like to think I have a little bit of a superpower, and that's being able to just say, I don't know. So you ask me, how am I going to fix the congestion on the Richardson Highway? And I say, I don't know. I'm not a civil engineer, but I can find one, and I can ask. So I say, I don't know. Let me get back to you. So with these 44 questions, I look forward to getting on my Facebook page and writing out an answer to each and every one of them later when I have some free time after I drive back home to the other half of our district, which is 300 miles away. Moderately ridiculous, but there's nothing we can do about that now. They say that in your lifetime you'll have 1 to 3 teachers that have a profound impact on your life. Teachers that you'll remember for the rest of your life. And I was homeschooled, but just being in Alaska, I know 5 that I will never ever forget. And those 5 teachers are fantastic and wonderful, and I hate to see the struggles they have to go through, the travel, the lack of money. There's not enough money to live in the places they're being expected to live in, and the programs are being cut. We have really awesome arts programs, and there's a music program in Valdez where students can go and learn. And one of these questions was on school safety. And I think school safety, our drug problem, our domestic violence problem, they all come down to community and a loss of community. if we can shore up and build the community, the connection between people across lines, across jobs, trades, income brackets, all of them, then we can reduce the danger that we have in every facet of our society. And we can also reduce the deaths that we have to suicide in the state, which there are all too many. I'd like to make the problems that we face as citizens living in the darkness much more prevalent and much more thought about, so we're not suffering from vitamin D deficiency and the winter depression. That's all.
Thank you very much, everybody. Can we give them a big round of applause? This concludes our time for tonight, so thank you all for coming out. So, yeah.
You know, I forgot to mention that Big Cabot Radio Free Palmer, they couldn't broadcast this live tonight, but they are going to get a tape and archive it on their site. So it should be up in a couple days.
Although at the same time, we're on college campus.
Well, thank you all of my fellow Alaskans for tuning in here today. It has been an awesome listening to them debate it out, forum style. And hopefully you guys all took a moment and liked and shared this video. If you haven't done that, please do that right now. Take a moment, like, share this video, so that everybody here in Alaska has an opportunity to participate and get educated before they cast their ballot. Early voting started yesterday. November 8th is less than 2 weeks away. Time for you guys to get yourselves motivated. Make sure you educate as many Alaskans as possible by sharing this video so that they too, if they live in the MatSu Valley, have the opportunity to learn who the candidates are before they vote. This was a great way to be able to do it. Only a small handful was missing. And I'd like to point out that Scott Clayton wasn't here today. Neither was Kevin McCabe or Holmes. And Michael Schauer had to work today. From my understanding, he is not available to even be here. And you could also catch the interview with Scott Clayton yesterday on my page. That may help make up for not being here at the forum today. Again, thank you guys all for being here today. Don't forget to like and share. And when you get a chance, please go to our website, Politadick.com, click that support button. All proceeds go right back into doing what we do here, making sure we can cover the expenses of the ever-increasing gas prices that it costs to be able to get us to these events. Your support is what made today's broadcast possible. And you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and our website, all at Politadick. And you can also now find us on Rumble at Politadick. And hopefully soon we'll have enough subscribers there to where we'll be able to live stream to them too. Again, thank you guys all for being here today. It is greatly appreciated. Take that moment, like and share this video so that every Alaskan can be informed this election. Maybe there might be some questions asked here you want to ask your own candidates in other regions of Alaska. Once again, have a great day.